Minor sins can become major if one of the following five are attached to it. One, as-sururu bidhanb. If a person is happy with that sin, the sin may be minor, but if they're happy with performing it, then it becomes major. Because how can you be happy in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Secondly, if a person does the sin openly, without any shyness, or they expose their past sins, then the sin becomes a major sin. Prophet of Allah he said, Kullu ummati mu'afa illa al-mujahirin. That all of my followers, all of my ummah will be forgiven, will be pardoned, except for the mujahirin, those who commit a sin openly, and it also includes those who perform sin in secret, but they disclose it to others. They talk about their sins. The Prophet of Allah said, "Inna min al-majanati." An example of such a person is the one who does a sinful deed at night, then he wakes up while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has covered his sin at night. But then he goes to a person and he says, فَيَقُولَ يَا فُلَانَ عَمِلْتُ الْبَارِحَةَ كَذَا وَكَذَا. Subhanallah. وَقَدْ بَاتَ يَسْتُرُهُ رَبُّهُ وَيُصْبِحُ يَكْشِفُ سِتْرَ اللَّهِ عَنْهُ. Oh, so-and-so, I did such and such bad sin last night. Subhanallah. He spends the night being covered by his Lord, but then he wakes up and he reveals that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has screened, has hidden from being exposed. This is one instance where a minor sin can become a major sin. Al-mujahara, exposing one's sins and also doing it openly. A minor sin can become major if a person undermines sins. If you think a sin is insignificant or minimal, or it's not something important, then you're undermining the commands and prohibitions of Allah. And this is from the major sins. Subhanallah bihamdi. Person may think, oh, what's the importance of doing such and such? Because of them undermining this aspect of the deen, it becomes a major sin. May Allah protect us all. Anas ibn Malik, he told the tabi'een, إِنَّكُمْ لَتَعْمَلُونَ أَعْمَالًا هِيَ أَدَقُّ فِي أَعْيُنِكُمْ مِنَ الشَّعْرِ. That you people do bad deeds, commit sins, which you think in your eyes to be something minute, something tiny like hair. It's something insignificant, very small, like a strand of hair. However, كنا نعدها على أهل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من الموبقات. Subhanallah bihamdi. We used to consider those sins during the time of Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم to be among the destructive sins. The muhlikat, that which leads to the destruction of an individual. That's about Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah. Now, so undermining sins is another way, a reason why minor sin would become major. Also, if a person were to persist in the sin, al-israr, this is when a person intends to continue in performing the sin without any resolve to stop, without any intention to cease that action. Like someone who is addicted to the sin and they have no intention of changing. Subhanallah bihamdi. Even if you are tested with a sin, ikhwan and akhawat, always intend to change and be better. And eventually you'll be granted success. It may not be immediately. You may fail a couple more times, but you have to always have regret and remorse. And you must also have al-azm. Allah ya'udu ila dhanb. You must make firm resolve to not return back to the sin. If you fall into the sin again, then you repeat the tawbah. But never be complacent. Accept me for who I am. And they're complacent with that sin. They make it a part of their character and part of their being. A'udhu billah. If a Muslim thinks like this, then it's a major sin. You cannot be complacent with disobeying your Lord. You must have the intention to quit. You must have the desire to quit. طيب? Because if you don't, then you negate a pillar of tawbah. And as the Salaf, they said, لا صغيرة مع الإصرار ولا كبيرة مع الاستغفار. That there's no صغيرة. There's no small sin if a person is persistent in performing it. And there's no major sin with istighfar, seeking Allah's forgiveness. Also, a minor sin can become major if it's done by someone who's knowledgeable or someone who's respected in the community, someone who is followed by others. Because if someone were to see them do it because they think they're knowledgeable, they think they're someone of virtue, etc., and if they were to perform that action, then the one who did it, the knowledgeable person or the respected community member, also received the evil deed. So they receive the evil deed for doing it themselves and also for anyone who follows them. من سن سنة سيئة فعمل بها بعده كان عليه وزره ومثل أوزارهم من غيرهم أن ينقص من أوزارهم شيئا. As the Prophet of Allah he said, whoever introduces an evil practice that is followed after him, they will bear not only the burden of their sin, but also the equivalent of those who follow them. The equivalent of those who follow them in that sin, and it will not take away from their burden in the slightest. Wallahu al-musta'an. So be aware, ikhwan akhwat, of this. Now,